What's up, guys? It's your boy Zowoki back out with another Chris Watts video, and you probably are looking like, what the crap, Zowoki? Yes, we are in a new studio, the future of Zowoki Studios. Look how far is back there. I don't know about you, but I can literally throw this thing all the way back there. So there's gonna be definitely more room, more cameras that are coming, more lights. I need to organize, but it took me all day to redo this from the last room, and so forth. So just bear with me. Hopefully the microphone sounds a little bit better. If it doesn't, we're gonna be tweaking that because I found some things that were messing with the microphone. So hopefully everything will be fixed. Plus my internet went out. Had to call the internet guy to come in and bring me a new modem. Oh my gosh, it's been a day from heck today. So we're gonna be watching a video from one of my YouTube friends, and that is Unapologetically Me, True Crime. I definitely value her opinions. She does a deep dive and doesn't leave any T's uncrossed or any I's undotted. She goes into it. And the one video that she posted about, I think it's like 5 or 6 days ago, of WFA going through the motions, the buried motion file by Chris Watts defense team. I'm very intrigued, and hopefully you guys are too. So before we go any further, make sure you guys are subscribed to my YouTube channel by hitting that white bar icon down at the bottom right. Hit that bell icon next to it, so when I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that I've posted that video, and then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, thank you so much for the love and support that you guys do show on my channel. My channel would not be what it is without you guys, and I thank you guys so much for that. Make sure you guys go over to Unapologetically Me, True Crime. Go give her the love where it is due. She put this together for us to watch, react, and she definitely worked very hard, and we need to give her the love back. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
No one has talked about. It wasn't about guilt or innocence. It wasn't about evidence we already knew. It was about people. Witnesses that the prosecution claimed hadn't been interviewed yet. And according to Chris Watts' defense, the DA was desperate to keep these witnesses a secret. Why? Well, once you hear who these witnesses may have been, you might start asking some even more uncomfortable questions.
Oh,
as if
snap.
you haven't asked enough already.
Crime that has been unforgotten. I like her intro too. I know she's a busy woman, but she needs to post more.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to UMTC. How are you all doing today? I hope you're having a day, weekend. I hope you're ready for some new information on the Watts case.
Let's have it.
Like, share, comment, and if you really like these videos and you're learning something from them, please feel free to subscribe. It is a free way to support the channel. Thank you to all.
It is literally free to subscribe. Please.
My subscribers and my members. You can always check out my community page for any updates, so I don't use up anyone's valuable time.
If I had the views and subscribers, I'd be at 19 million. That's ridiculous.
Time explaining things during these videos. I am just going to start going over to the community page to talk about anything that I don't want to waste time with in the videos. So let's get into this court document.
That
is seemingly innocuous, yet is anything but, at least in my opinion. In the Chris Watts case, there was a motion filed that most people have never even heard of. One that hints there may have been witnesses who have not yet been interviewed. Who were they? And why did DA Michael Rourke fight so hard to keep them a secret? This is a copy of a
My opinion, my thoughts is DA Rourke wanted to make this look so good, so fast that he was able to convict this man of murder, quadruple homicide, or he keeps saying triple homicide, quadruple homicide, that it would look good for election year, which was that year. So just throwing that out there.
Motion that was filed by Chris Watts' defense team on October 19th, 2008.
Was this the 35C? Hold on. Christopher Watts. This is a D-041. Mr. Watts' motion for alternative relief in the event that his motion to intervene to Colorado is denied in blank, blank, blank. Through his attorneys, hereby moves this honorable court to hold a hearing on the government's preferred reason for wanting to deny disclosure of the autopsies. That's another thing. Why are the autopsies sealed for 50 years? That seems suspicious. In this matter, as grounds for this motion, Mr. Watts states, Mr. Watts filed today at a motion in case number blank, blank, blank to intervene in the proceedings man, I am bad with pronunciation. My bad, guys. To Colorado Rule of Criminal Procedure of the filing of this motion, the court there, the Honorable Todd Taylor has yet to rule Mr. Watts's pleading. We don't care of your pleading. Out of an abundance of caution, Mr. Watts files this motion before this court as well. If the court denies Mr. Watts's motion, Mr. Watts respectfully moves this court to hold a hearing on whether the release of the autopsies could result in tainting witnesses that have not been interviewed. What? As the government claimed in its motion. As stated, Mr. Watts notice the government's alternative claim that the results of the autopsies will taint potential jurors is groundless. The result will almost assuredly be revealed in court proceedings well in advance of trial. Okay. However, counsel for Mr. Watts remains concerned about the government's spurious claims relating to tainting witnesses who have yet to be interviewed. Counsel remains specifically concerned that the government's possessions information that the defense does not have. If it is not clear if the government's assertion means that it has knowledge that witnesses may change their testimony once they see the coroner's opinion, it is not clear which witnesses the government knows about who have not been interviewed that may have the reaction to the opinion of the coroner. It is not clear that information or what information the government possesses that would lead them to that conclusion. This is why I like this room now. What? Are you kidding me? There are other witnesses? Plural. Witnesses. There's more than two. There's more than three, probably.
Copy of a motion that was filed by Chris Watts' defense team on October 19th, 2018. This motion.
I'm going to let you read these. I don't want to read them all because, yeah, we'd be here for another half hour. I don't want to bore you guys of me just reading, but wherefore, I want to read the ending though. Watts is entitled to the relief request in this motion. Mr. Watts files the motion and makes all other motions and objectives objections in this case, whether or not specifically noted at the time of making the motion or objection on the following grounds and authorities: the due process clause, the right to a fair trial by impartial jury, the rights to counsel equal protection, confirmation and compulsory process, the rights to remain silent and to appeal. He had the right to remain silent, and he just kept blabbing and blabbing and he screwed himself there too. Right to free from cruel and unusual punishment pursuant to the federal and Colorado Constitution generally, and specifically the 1st, 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution. The Article 12 or 2, Sections 3, 6, 7, 10, 11, 16, 18, 20, 23, 25, and 28 of the Colorado Constitution. Okay.
Motion was filed as a backup request to another motion that was filed by Chris's defense team. This motion was a backup motion in case their main motion, which was to intervene in civil case number 18 CV 30907, was denied. This civil case was to publicize the autopsy reports. In simple terms, Chris Watts' defense was fighting to make the autopsy reports public. If the courts denied that request, they wanted a hearing held, a public one, where the DA would have to explain their reasoning for keeping those autopsy reports sealed.
So why didn't we? What? Where's my red flag? It's probably in the other room. Oh my gosh. Because I've been moving the rooms and I forgot my red flag. I'm sorry, guys. Do I have anything red around here? Nope. Sorry, guys. I'll bring my red flag next time.
Many people still believe to this day that Chris Watts was the one who had these autopsy reports sealed. The fact is,
it was the DA.
No such thing. The fact is, his defense team tried to fight this and filed a few motions specifically about the autopsies, and this video is about one of those motions. There has also been opposing speculation that it was the rusex that filed for the autopsies to be sealed. This comes from those who believe that they are hiding something.
I'm telling you right now. I have looked. You know, you always want to, like, how would you say, for the other side, give them, amuse their idea that the rusex could be involved. I've looked at everything I could possibly look at when it comes to the rusex involvement. First of all, they love their daughter, okay? I've seen clips that people have sent me going, oh, look, the rusex can't handle their daughter. Do you realize how bad some children can be for their parents? Maybe she had an attitude. Maybe she was a go-getter woman and she was willing to do everything, and she disrespected her parents. Or what kid doesn't? Like 8 kids out of 10 nowadays disrespect their parents. Is it right? Hell no, it isn't. But you cannot tell me, for the people that are like, oh my gosh, the rusex were involved. They even said that Shanann was hard to handle. Okay, it might be, but does that give a reason to murder the woman? Absolutely not. These people are looking for any possibility of a way to, one, blame Shanann or blame her parents or blame the brother, I might add. They had no gain from this. Okay, maybe they got the insurance money, but I guarantee they would have cared to see their granddaughters and their new grandson plus their daughter that they spent 30 plus years raising. And just because the kids leave the nest at 18 doesn't mean your parenting stops. You're always going to be a parent. My parents are still parenting me, and I'm 37. But people will sit there and spite little problems in everybody's lives online, but you cannot tell me your life is perfect. My life is far from it, but I love that people think that their lives are perfect. And then they like go after these people. There is no motive for the rusex to have murdered their daughter. Where do you see it? The only thing is the insurance money, and I guarantee these people, they're not gonna, they would rather have their family. Like me, I told my dad or my parents, I don't want the insurance money when they're gone. I'd rather them be here. Yes, unfortunately, we all have expiration dates, but we should be able to live our lives throughout life. Some are cut short, unfortunate. I mean, a lot of us could die within the next 30 seconds. It's all the decisions that God has for us. But she was not, or Shanann, Bella, Celeste should have not died, and Nico, because of a man wanting to get his jollies off with a new woman, and that woman caused this turmoil. She literally pushed the domino, and Chris being the dominoes. So she is to blame. We should be like looking at NK, D.A. Rourke, people that had like Dwayne Johnson. We want to get this over as done as fast as possible. It's making us look bad. Like 4 people just died. And then people are looking at this or blaming NA, Nicole Atkinson. I've heard of people even blaming Nick Thayer and Nick and Amanda Thayer. Like, let's focus on Nicole and D. Rourke and stuff like that to exploit them on possibilities of something going on. Again, we can only say opinionated and our theories, because unless it's right in front of our face, which we're kind of looking at right now, we can't say, oh yeah, this is completely wrong. I mean, we can have our thoughts, but again, keep them positive.
They being the rusex. But it was the DA who wanted those reports sealed. Likely, in my opinion, under the guise that he was protecting the victims and their families. Yet, Chris Watts and his defense team were never allowed to see those reports either. That is against the constitutional rights of the defendant, Chris Watts. So why all the secrecy?
But again, when Chris commits the crime, he doesn't get constitutional rights anymore. He should be treated like that should be a punishment. You lose your rights. You don't get to be silent. You don't get to be own a gun or anything like that. Your rights are gone. No voting, no. Make that a punishment as well. I feel like people nowadays don't think prison is hard enough, because I've seen a lot of bad prisons, but I've seen a lot of good prisons. And some of them look like college dorms with restrictions. That's about it. So, am I wrong?
There are obvious reasons that the prosecution might have resisted releasing the autopsy reports. The first reason would be protecting the victim's privacy and dignity. I mean, we all know autopsy reports contain graphic details.
Which, yes, we don't want to read into the ones that... So I understand how Bella and Celeste are very innocent souls, and how a lot of people can't handle with looking at or reading descriptive gore and so forth, which I can understand, protecting from people so that they don't have any thoughts or crime. But people are still going to have their thoughts and opinions. But I can see this one being plausible. But is it? I'm not liberty to say by mouth. I can do it visually.
Graphic medical details about the victims, often including photos and diagrams. Prosecutors can argue.
For me, if my son was murdered, which heavenly God, please never make possible, But if my son was either shot, ran over, stabbed, or anything like that, dang straight, I want to see my son. As much as it's going to kill me inside to see him in that state, I still want to see what happened to my son, so I can always know what they did to my son. I don't know if that's good. I don't know if you would be able to do that, but also you have to see and identify, which is usually just visual of the face to verify the deceased. But I would want to know. So yeah, it's a hit and miss on this one.
That releasing these details to the public could be unnecessarily traumatic to the victims' families, especially.
But I've seen some other crime evidence and so forth when it comes to murders, and they get X-rated. Like they're talking about different veins that have been popped out. There was one that somebody said that the individual that was murdered got squished by a pipe, and they told them about the eyeballs popping out and his intestines came out. Like, I'm not going to keep going into this because people are like, and I don't want to do that to you. You're probably eating, or you're probably, yeah, we don't need that visual. But a lot of us can handle it. And I feel that, yes, this may be true, but then I feel, yes, it may be, or no, it may be wrong. We should be able to be entitled to it. So,
Especially in a high-profile case where the media will report every single line. In this case, Shanann was also pregnant, and the children were very young. It goes without saying that the contents would be extremely
devastating.
Sensitive. The second reason would be to prevent public misinterpretation. I smirk when I say this because it happens.
I'll say, what do you think is happening right now? There are AI channels popping up everywhere that a lot of them are like, what? Where did you get this information? Can you, like, don't make stories up. And then that's how phone tag happens, where one person says banana and the other one says dragon fruit by the end. It's like, can we stop making misinformation?
Happens all the time. Every single case, every single thing that comes out of a person's mouth these days can be misinterpreted. You certainly don't want autopsy findings being misinterpreted. Autopsy findings can be very technical, and they're easily misunderstood without medical expertise. In cases with huge media coverage, small details can be taken out of context, fueling speculation or conspiracies. Prosecutors might worry that this could make it harder to find unbiased jurors during an active case or cause public backlash. The third reason would be preserving the integrity of the case and investigation. Even though
see that too, but
guilty very quickly, there was still a period before sentencing when evidence management mattered. Prosecutors sometimes keep autopsies sealed until after all proceedings, including sentencing and appeals, are complete, to avoid influencing potential witnesses or affecting ongoing investigations. For example, if they were still looking into whether or not anyone else was involved. And the fourth reason being complying with the state law. Now, in Colorado, autopsy reports are generally public record, unless the court seals them for a specific reason, such as privacy or interference with an active investigation. If the DA wanted these sealed, they would have to show good cause. And that is what chriswatts' defense team were challenging in this motion.
And were denied.
Why would Chris's defense team have to fight and force the court to hold a hearing on why the DA claimed that releasing the autopsy reports could taint?
Is there missing evidence that would point to a second person? Is it showing something that was completely a lie about his confession? I mean, the list goes on. So, I mean, it's like you don't want to know, but you want to know.
Witnesses. Because that is the reason the defense was given, for the lack of transparency in regards to these autopsy reports. Not to protect the victims or the families, but because the information listed within the reports, quote, could result in tainting witnesses who have yet to be interviewed, unquote. It was also stated that the other reason for not releasing the reports was, quote, that the results of the autopsies will taint potential jurors, unquote. Chris Watts' defense argued that claim to be, quote, groundless because the results would assuredly be revealed within the court well in advance of a trial, unquote. So let's break that down. Let's unpack that. What the DA was basically saying is that if the public, including witnesses or potential jurors, sees the detailed autopsy findings before trial, it could influence what they remember, how they interpret the case, or even what they claim to know. Specifically, the DA's reasoning was to prevent witness contamination and jury bias. Now, this is extremely interesting in the Watts case. Unusual, even, because Chris Watts was arrested August 15th and he signed a plea deal November 6th. The DA's stated concern, quote unquote, potential jurors, usually applies when you expect a full jury trial. But in this case, there would be no trial. That would seem that either they didn't know there would be no trial when they filed this civil request to keep the autopsies private, or they still wanted to limit public access for reasons beyond jury concerns, such as protecting the families and avoiding public speculation, though that was never stated as a concern in the civil document that was filed. So, what does this motion reveal? The DA's public reason, according to court documents, is that releasing the autopsy reports could bias potential jurors and taint witness statements. So the defense had a rebuttal, and that rebuttal was, juror bias is a weak argument. Autopsy details are going to come out in court anyway. The real issue was the DA's claim about witnesses who hadn't yet been interviewed, suggesting the prosecution knew about people whose stories could change after seeing the coroner's findings. They suspected the DA had information they were not sharing with the defense. Why is this important? Well, first of all, it's illegal. It's against Chris's constitutional rights to not even be shown the autopsy report and to not know information that the prosecution has against him. If the DA had information they were not sharing with the defense, this means that there were people out there with potential critical knowledge about the murders, and or the DA didn't want the defense team exposed to certain evidence yet, or at least didn't want their existence widely known. Another thing this motion reveals is the coroner's role in keeping the autopsies sealed. You mean all this time there was another person who was cool with hiding evidence? Not just DA Michael Rourke, but the coroner for Weld County as well? I can't remember his name, but I will put it in here as an edit. Now,
Are coroners being paid off? I hope not.
Learned this from this document. We learned it from the following statements contained within this motion. According to the petition filed, you know, that 18 CV 30907 motion filed just prior to this one, the coroner, whose office is ostensibly independent from the DA's office, quote, concurs with the DA's reasoning, unquote, and has, quote, no reason to doubt the DA, unquote. It goes on to say, and try not to laugh because none of this is funny, but you know they put these little digs into these court documents, and DA Rourke put one into the autopsy file, and it's almost like here's a rebuttal from Chris's defense, but it says, quote, counsel of Chris Watts cannot share the coroner's apparent confidence. The coroner's naked deference to the government has therefore made clear that he has no interest in challenging the government's judgment. Consequently, he has no interest in investigating and ferreting out the validity of its claim. Mr. Watts does. Now it goes on to say, the respondents to the action may have some interest in determining the validity of the government's witness claim, but their interest can, of course, be no greater than that of Mr. Watts. Mr. Watts is constitutionally entitled to know and meaningfully challenge the evidence and witnesses against him, and to have and make use of any.
Which wouldn't happen because all the information would have been exposed. And I think they're hiding it, man.
And all information related to their veracity or credibility. Because of the government's claim that the release of the autopsies may taint witnesses who have not been interviewed, seems to suggest that there are witnesses that the government knows who may slant or change their testimony based on the autopsy results. Mr. Watts has an obvious and substantial interest in developing the record on that claim. In addition, because that result, if true, has a direct effect on the criminal proceedings in this case, this court, should the court deny Mr. Watts' request to intervene, must hold a hearing in this case. So basically, if the judge denies the defense the opportunity to have this information, then there needs to be a hearing, a public hearing,
there wasn't,
where the DA has to explain why. Why are we not sharing this information with you? Why are we doing this? Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Even more concerning, though, the coroner requested the court allow him to offer specifics about his agreement with the DA, quote, under sealed to the court in a closed hearing, unquote. Now, what this means is the coroner's office sided with the DA and even offered to explain their agreement behind closed doors, meaning Chris Watts and his defense would never even know what was said. If the court were to allow this extraordinary request, Mr. Watts would be denied the opportunity not only to challenge the evidence, but also, and obviously more egregiously, to even know what the evidence is. Now, this is the defense arguing that this secrecy violated Chris Watts' right to a fair trial. Oh, the irony and hypocrisy. I mean, it just can't be made up.
Oh,
and this is where I get into it in the comments with some people. Here in the US of A, all individuals are entitled to due process. Withholding evidence and failing to prove a person guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in this country is illegal. Whether or not a person comes forward and claims to have committed a crime, it is still the prosecution's burden to prove it. Getting someone to sign a plea bargain waives that right of the accused. And I've been wanting to talk about this on its own, but there was never even a preliminary hearing on this case. You may also know it as a probable cause hearing. This is where the state has to list off all the evidence that shows cause as to why they are confident in charging someone with a crime.
Once I know what the official charges are that are filed by the district attorney's office, I'll inform you of the nature of the charges. If charges are filed, you have the right to a jury trial, and you have the right to demand and receive a preliminary hearing within a reasonable time to determine whether probable cause exists to believe that you committed any of the charges that are filed by the district attorney's office. Do you understand that? Yes, sir. You also have the right to demand and receive a preliminary hearing within a reasonable time to determine whether probable cause exists to believe that the offense is charged or committed by you. Do you understand? Yes, sir.
Chris Watts never had one of these. This usually happens pretty quickly, yet there were other motions filed by Chris Watts' defense, and one of those stated that as of August 29th, 2 weeks.
I'm sorry, I'm glad I didn't go to law school. I thought about it, and I'm like, nope. I was like, law? Nope.
Weeks after Chris Watts was charged with the murders, he had still not received a single page of discovery. Yet the court unsealed the affidavit on August 21st. And the media was already reporting on it, stating that the information was coming directly from sources close to the case and law enforcement. Now let's bring it back. Let's reel it back in here. Bring it back to the motion at hand. The witnesses that have not yet been interviewed, that may or may not be tainted by the evidence contained in these autopsy reports. Who could these witnesses be? In theory, of course, because this can only be speculation, this first theory is my opinion, which is backed by connections that I have recently uncovered and shown to you in part 3, episodes 1 and 2. This would be Nicholkessinger's inner circle.
Oh, yeah.
Friends, family, coworkers, and certain contacts in her phone records who were not interviewed yet and never would be. We also have to think about neighbors on Saratoga Trail, people who saw vehicles or suspicious activity, but they didn't speak on record immediately or formally. Connections to the mysterious older model gray Ford truck with a camper shell, matching a Ford Ranger owned by a William Biscay at the time of the crimes. Nicholkessinger had phone calls with this man, whom she used to work for years prior.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
With him before and after the crimes. And of course, I cannot leave out the Russian
this guy.
Gino Shvedov, Mr. Rear Naked Chokehold himself. Now this is a connection that potentially leads back to high school. Both Nikki and Gino were the same age, they went to the same high school, they grew up on the same street, and they also both used their home addresses on that same street to start businesses. Gino, a sober living home, and Nicholkessinger, a yoga studio, which she dissolved shortly after the murders. We haven't gotten into that just yet though, but we will. Now Gino was out on parole at the time of these murders, and he is the self-proclaimed owner of Hazelbrook Sober Living and a non-profit organization called Paradigm One in Aurora, Colorado. Paradigm One is the recipient of government funding from Denver's cashforcaring.org. Because of his sober living transitional homes, Gino has deep links to the Department of Corrections and parole officers, as well as access to communities where information can spread quickly and where witnesses could emerge unexpectedly. And last but not least, there could be uninterviewed first responders who hadn't given formal statements yet, or civil case participants as potential witnesses. People attached to the public records battle over these autopsy reports who might overlap with the criminal case against Chris Watts as well. Now, allow me to ask the big question.
Oh, man.
If these witnesses had information that could affect this case, why weren't they interviewed right away? Was the DA protecting the trial, the victims, the families? Or was he protecting the narrative? His narrative. What was DA Michael Rourke trying so desperately to hide? He wanted Chris Watts for all 4 of these murders. What could the autopsies possibly show that would make his narrative fall apart? One would think that the autopsies would prove, or at the very least not disprove, that all the evidence pointed to Chris Watts committing these crimes. So why keep them, even from the defense team and Chris Watts himself? I'm asking you. I know what I think. I have my opinions. I'm asking you, what do you think? My opinion?
My mind is blown.
Chris Watts' attorneys were pushing back hard on the DA's secrecy. They were suggesting there might be undisclosed witnesses or information that could help the defense, and that the DA was using the quote-unquote witness tainting excuse to keep it hidden. They are subtly hinting that there could be more to the case than what is public, or at least there are more people with information relevant to the case that had not been interviewed yet. Chris Watts and his team were basically denied information and evidence, leaving them unable to challenge any of it. And worse still, they were denied even the knowledge of what any of the information or evidence was. Now, no matter what, Christopher Watts had constitutional rights to 1, know the evidence against him, 2, test the credibility of witnesses, and 3, to get a fair proceeding, which is the right to a fair trial. Without these 3 things, Christopher Watts' rights would be violated. This filing wasn't just about autopsy reports. Chris Watts' attorneys were using the fight over disclosure to probe whether there were witnesses of information they hadn't been given, which could in turn open the doors to other evidence or even weaken the prosecution's case. They were also making a constitutional argument by saying, you can't secretly give evidence to a judge.
They were protecting Nicole
And keep it from the defense if that evidence could affect the outcome of the case. And that was with regard to the coroner and DA having that private little hearing with the judge about why they really wanted to seal the autopsies. It all sounds a little shady if you ask me. The lies we have been told by the DA are not forgotten. He has deliberately misled the public on multiple occasions, and in my opinion, he personally hampered the CBI and FBI's investigation into this case. It's a disgrace to the people in the state of Colorado to know that if a violent crime takes place in Weld County, the DA will not pursue justice. He will pursue a plea deal before ever even looking into any evidence, in my opinion, allegedly, and no one, it seems, will challenge his opinion. Because if...
Why is that justified? That is such a slap in the face.
This motion, filed by Chris Watts' defense team on October 19, 2018, was granted, and there was a public hearing where the DA was forced to publicly disclose why he really wanted those autopsy records sealed and name those, quote, not yet interviewed witnesses, unquote, we might have a very different understanding of what happened in Frederick, Colorado on August 13th, 2018.
There's a list.
That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for
gosh.
watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it or learned something from it. And if you think there are other people following this case need to see it, you can also share it. Again, liking it will help get it out to a bigger audience. If you are enjoying my videos, you can hit the subscribe button. It's a free way to support the channel. And the notification bell as well will alert you every time I post a new video. Please have a great rest of your day, night, week, weekend.
Please be safe, be happy, be healthy, and most of all, be unapologetically you.
Man, it just, the things this woman just like goes down and grabs. We all know that this case has been corrupted, has been non-justified. It goes up. And I honestly have mercy, or God have mercy on their souls, because they're trying to get financial gain. They're trying to get, I don't know, they're benefiting themselves. They're not benefiting the community, because I've heard and seen other, there's a piece of dust, from other people that have showed me other cases that DA has had. My gosh, there's quite a bit of, I don't have the red flags, but there's a lot of things that have been handled wrong. And from other DAs that have met, I mean, they're not in Weld County, but I mean, they've been all over the world. I've had, what, 24 DAs, retirees that are in DAs now. They're like, oh, this is very questionable. Because they would always say that we would be looking at these witnesses and evidence and so forth. We would have done this as a trial. You didn't get nothing. Do you think his constitutional rights were pretty much thrown out? It wasn't cared for? Surely put it down in the comments. I would surely love to hear you guys. Make sure you guys go over to Miss Unapologetically Me True Crime. Give her the love for this video, because again, bravo, girl. Bravo. You did a good job. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Please take care. Be safe. And as always, keep nerding on, and we will see you guys in the next video.